Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, 500 meters above the Cambodian plains, where an ancient temple clings to the rocks like a crown of stone. For centuries, this temple, Preah Vihear, was more than just a ruin. It was a symbol of Khmer greatness, a silent witness to glory and loss, and the heart of a battle that would shake Southeast Asia. In 1962, against all odds, tiny Cambodia stood before the world's highest court to fight a larger, stronger neighbor, Thailand, for the soul of this sacred temple. What happened next became one of the greatest victories in Cambodia's modern history, a triumph that still fuels national pride and stirs emotions today. The ancient jewel on the cliff. Preah Vihear Temple was built during the height of the Khmer Empire in the 11th century, under the reigns of kings like Suryavarman I and Suryavarman II. Unlike Angkor Wat, which lies on the flat plains, Preah Vihear was constructed on a mountain ridge along the Dangrek Range. Its unique setting gave it a commanding view over the Cambodian lowlands, as if it were a watchtower of the gods. The temple was dedicated to the Hindu god Shiva, with long causeways, stone staircases, and sanctuaries stretching along the ridge. For the Khmer, this was more than architecture. It was a spiritual journey carved in stone. Yet over time, as the Khmer Empire declined, Preah Vihear fell silent. By the 15th century, when Cambodia shifted its capital southward and Angkor faded into the jungle, the temple stood largely abandoned.
But borders, unlike stones, never stay still. Over centuries, Cambodia's lands shrank as Siam, Thailand, expanded westward and Vietnam pressed from the east. By the 19th century, when France colonized Cambodia, Preah Vihear lay in a contested frontier zone. For the French, this mountain temple was simply part of their colonial domain. For Siam, it remained an object of desire. Colonial maps and the seeds of dispute. The roots of the modern dispute lie in the early 1900s. In 1904, France and Siam signed a treaty to define their border. It stated that the frontier should follow the watershed line of the Dangrek Mountains. A year later, French surveyors drew maps to reflect this. But one map, known as the Annex I map, placed Preah Vihear squarely on the Cambodian side, even though strictly following the watershed might have put it in Siamese territory.
When the map was presented to Siamese officials, they did not protest. For decades, the temple was administered as Cambodian territory under French control. Yet as independence movements swept Asia after World War II, Siam, renamed Thailand, revived its claim. Thai authorities argued that the map was flawed and that the temple should belong to them. Thus, Sacred Ruin became the center of a geopolitical struggle. Sihanouk's gamble. By the late 1950s, Cambodia was led by Prince Norodom Sihanouk, a charismatic leader who balanced Cold War pressures while trying to assert Cambodian independence. When Thai forces occupied the temple in 1954, Sihanouk was outraged. But he also knew Cambodia was too small and militarily weak to force Thailand out by war. Instead, he turned to diplomacy and law. In 1959, Cambodia made a bold move. It filed a case at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in The Hague. It was a historic gamble. Rarely had a small Asian nation challenged a larger neighbor in such a forum, but Sihanouk was determined. To him, Preah Vihear was not merely a ruin but a symbol of Cambodia's heritage, and losing it would mean losing a piece of national soul. The battle in The Hague. The ICJ hearings became a dramatic stage where law, history, and emotion collided. Cambodia's lawyers argued that Thailand had accepted the 1907 map for decades, never objecting to it.
They stressed that France had administered the temple as Cambodian territory without protest. International law, they argued, was clear. Thailand had recognized the map and therefore could not suddenly claim otherwise.
Thailand countered that the map was a colonial error and that the true watershed line placed the temple on their side. They argued that mistakes on paper should not determine sovereignty. Behind these legal words lay deeper emotions. For both nations, Preah Vihear was a matter of pride and identity. The judges weighed treaties, examined maps, and listened to both sides. But the case was more than just technicalities. It carried the weight of history. Could a small, post-colonial nation stand up to a larger neighbor and have its voice heard? The verdict of 1962. On June 15, 1962, the ICJ delivered its judgment. By a vote of 9-3, the court ruled that Preah Vihear Temple belonged to Cambodia. Thailand was ordered to withdraw its forces and return any artifacts taken from the site. The announcement sent shockwaves across Southeast Asia. In Cambodia, it was a moment of euphoria. Crowds poured into the streets of Phnom Penh, waving flags and cheering. Newspapers hailed it as a national triumph. For Sihanouk, it was one of his proudest achievements, a symbol that Cambodia could defend its rights on the world stage. The temple, long a silent ruin, had become a living symbol of justice and pride.
In Thailand, the ruling was met with anger and disappointment. Many Thais believed the court had robbed them of their heritage. Although the government complied and withdrew troops, resentment lingered. The wound never fully healed.
More than a temple. Why did this ruling matter so much? On the surface, Preah Vihear is a single temple, far smaller than Angkor Wat. But symbolically, it was enormous. For Cambodians, it represented recognition of their glorious past and a victory over centuries of territorial losses. For a nation still haunted by the collapse of the Khmer Empire, the verdict felt like reclaiming a fragment of dignity. The victory also showed that international law could serve the weak as well as the strong. Cambodia, with limited power, had defeated Thailand in a global court. It was proof that justice did not always bow to might.
The unfinished story. But the 1962 verdict did not end the dispute entirely. While the ICJ awarded the temple to Cambodia, it left unclear the sovereignty of the surrounding land. This ambiguity simmered quietly until 2008, when Cambodia applied to UNESCO to list Preah Vihear as a World Heritage Site. UNESCO approved, but Thailand protested, claiming this implied Cambodian sovereignty over adjacent areas. Nationalist passions flared on both sides. From 2008 to 2011, border clashes erupted. Soldiers and civilians were killed, villages evacuated, and artillery fire even damaged parts of the temple. Once again, the sacred sanctuary became a battlefield.
In 2013, the ICJ clarified its earlier ruling, confirming that not only the temple, but also the surrounding escarpment belonged to Cambodia. While tensions have since eased, the issue remains a sensitive scar in Cambodian-Thai relations. Legacy of a victory. For Cambodians, the 1962 victory remains a cherished memory. It is taught in schools, celebrated in national history, and remembered as a time when Cambodia stood tall against a stronger neighbor. Even today, Preah Vihear appears in discussions of sovereignty, reminding citizens that their heritage was defended in the world's highest court. The temple also stands as a lesson in nationalism. For Thailand, it is a lingering reminder of loss.
fueling periodic calls for re-examination. For Cambodia, it is a source of unity, a symbol that even a small nation can assert its rights when backed by truth and determination.
Lessons for the future. The Preah Vihear case offers broader lessons beyond Cambodia and Thailand. It shows how colonial boundaries continue to haunt modern nations. It demonstrates the power of international law in resolving disputes that might otherwise lead to endless conflict. Most importantly, it reveals how deeply heritage is tied to identity. A temple is not just stone, it is memory, pride, and the soul of a nation. As Cambodia continues to face other border challenges with Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand in maritime zones, the memory of 1962 serves as both inspiration and warning. Inspiration because it shows that justice is possible. Warning because it shows that even a victory in court may not fully end nationalist tensions.
Conclusion: the temple on the cliff. Today, visitors who climb the steps of Preah Vihear and look out over the Cambodian plains see more than ancient ruins. They see the stage of a historic struggle. They see the site where Cambodia defended its past and won recognition from the world. They see a temple that has been both battlefield and sanctuary, both legal case and national symbol. The story of Preah Vihear is not just about a court ruling in 1962. It is about a nation's determination to defend its heritage, a people's pride in their ancestors, and the belief that even small voices can be heard on the global stage. On that cliff, in the silence of stone, Cambodia's triumph still echoes.